It's been exactly 5 years since the English in EU4 have had any sort of a flavor added to them, and considering the fact that it's literally one of the biggest and most important countries in the game, it's about high time that we get a DLC revolving around them. That's why the next EU4 DLC will have a revamped mission tree and a lot of new added flavor for the English as well as the British, after they formed the British, of course. So taking a quick glance of the mission tree itself, you can see it starts off with a very standard recruit the mercenaries, and then it is divided based on a few important matters. Early in the campaign, you have to navigate the struggles of the 100 Years' War, as well as maintaining your royal court in order and having a strong army to subjugate the Scots and the Irish. Later down the line, you've got more missions here, including rule Britannia. They do focus on colonization, on establishing a brand new type of subject in India that we'll be talking a little bit more in a few moments. And the last part of the mission tree revolves around making your country really strong economically, especially with the EU having economic domination over the rest of Europe from a trade perspective, as well as a ton of new features for the base country itself, helping with the managing the internal affairs, let's say. They actually mentioned right over here, mission tree is split into several themes: internal affairs and issues of England, War of the Roses, etc., classic conquest of the British Islands, trade domination, colonization of the New World, and conquest of India, and the internal development. You probably noticed here that one of the most enduring issues previously, before this DLC, the fact that if the Scots did not get the Orkney Islands before you subjugated them, that was a problem. Well, that's not a problem anymore. If you do take the Scottish land or you subjugate Scotland, you get an offer from Norway where you can buy the Orkney Islands off of them for 200 ducats, as long as you have positive relations. So make sure that you improve relations with Norway in order for this to be the proper outcome. There's also some interesting new privileges added now from the New World missions. The mission Found the Royal Navy gives plus 33% colonial range, which is huge, and the ability to recruit explorers and conquistadors for 25 years, meaning you can actually explore the New World without going exploration ideas. That being said, Found the Royal Navy is a little bit down the line here. You actually have to do three missions actually, because you don't need the adjacent one. So you need to do end the French conflict, abolish villeinage, and okay, that's actually pretty wow. This can be rushed now that I think about it. This definitely can be rushed. Holy snaps, you can explore the New World and colonize it way before anybody else then, even the Portuguese. Afterwards, the next mission down the line, discover the Americas, which is pretty self-explanatory. You got to discover the Americas. It gives you some unique parliamentary edicts, such as the colonial ventures that gives for the rest of the game, not just 10 years, but for the rest of the freaking game, plus 5% settler chance. That is insanely overpowered, I have to say. As well as you can choose the trade good of a Finnish province or colony, better yet, as long as this modifier is active, and plus 1 development each development. Oh god, so if you take the age ability and you got this privilege, you could turn 3 development provinces into 9 development provinces. Oh god, this is gonna be insanely powerful. So we can see here what it looks like. You get to choose what the trade good is. By default, once you finish the province, you get its own trade good, but you can change that to various other goods. If the good that you're changing it to has a base value of more than 2.5, then the price increases. So you can see here, if the base value is more than 2.5, then you have to pay admin points. So if you want to make gems production in Honduras, for example, you got to pay admin and a little bit of cash, and the cash itself also depends on a few other factors, so keep that in mind. Also, it's really cool the fact that there's gonna be some minor nations affected in this DLC, so it's not just the major nations. We'll talk about that later down the line. We know for sure that Portugal, Navarra are getting some revamps, because I read that on the forums from some of the dev team. We also know that Prussia is getting some small changes, at least from what we noticed in the previous dev diaries. They got a new map color, so at least the map color change, if not more than that. And I still suspect that Mamluks in Persia are gonna get something, because they got literally no flavor right now. But I might be wrong, and I hope that I am not wrong. But then again, this also implies that if they are getting something, and there's so many nations getting affected all around the world, is this actually the last DLC? I really hope it isn't, and I don't think it is, but there's still a slight chance that it might be, and it's kind of ticking me off. I'm curious what you guys think about this. Do you think it's the last last one or not. And also, guys, I'm really trying to get to 200,000 subscribers so I can actually conquer the world and establish a new Roman Empire, because that's all you need in order to do that, obviously. So if you enjoy the content, consider subscribing. It would really mean the world to me and encourage me to make more content like this in the future. I do this full time, so rest assured if you subscribe, you're gonna get enough content to make you cringe for a whole summer, okay? Just saying, just saying. There's also a decision that lets you toggle on and off the event for colonial ventures. Basically, once you finish provinces in the new world, you get to not choose this event anymore if you get, you know, bored with always choosing the trade good. I don't know. And there's also a few extra things here. Nobility called a diet, raise additional levies. Ooh. Okay, okay. This is piquing my interest. What is this all about? Can someone explain? The next two missions here, settle the Americas and colonize the Caribbean, give you more unique parliamentary reforms or diets or whatever you want to call them. Basically, the Taxation Act and the Act of Representation. You can see here, Taxation Act gives a lot of extra tariffs, trade efficiency, yearly tax income, plus 60 ducats? What? Okay. Sounds to me like taxation, not so much representation. What can go wrong, my fellow Britishmen? What can go wrong from taxing them without proper representing? Nothing will ever happen in the colony. It's safe. They're all loyal. They're loyal to the crown. But hey, if you do want to go for representation, you're definitely going to get some diplo annexation cost and diplo reputation, which in my opinion actually is the better option, especially if you have a lot of subjects. And you also get the Gold Act, where it increases the chance of discovering gold whilst colonizing a province. Holy snaps. I already see it. Someone's going to make a video in which they Alt F4 100 times for each province, so they end up with the colonial nation that has 30 gold provinces and is called the 13 colonies. And that's right, that's probably gonna be one of my first videos, my boys. That's probably gonna be one of my first videos. I'm gonna make gold only United States, all right? We're going for that representation whilst we want no taxation. Later down the line, the mission New World Domination gives until the end of the game trade efficiency, global tariffs, and all colonial subjects gain 50% production efficiency and trade efficiency as long as this modifier is active. That is freaking insanely powerful. Wow, wow. And now let's get over to the juicy part, boys, because we have the East India Company, a company that historically speaking was not the greatest thing that ever happened to India. They've committed a lot of atrocities all the way up to after the Second World War, and well, technically it was actually the British government doing it after the Second World War and during and before. But hey, my point is that you now have three options. You can form the East India Company, in which case they are a special type of subject, kind of like a colonial subject, but not really, a little bit different. They are known as a commercial enterprise subject, and they get permanent claims on pretty much the entirety of India here if you choose to establish them. Second option, you don't establish them, you get your claims directly so you can take the lands for yourself. Or the third option, you can play as them, and that sounds like a really fun playthrough also. Now, their unique starting government reform, the trade company, gives them, it's basically a republic. You have elections every 4 years, and you get production efficiency, manpower plus 10%, naval force limit, tolerance of heathens and heretics, as well as it increases the maximum tolerance +1. That's pretty cool too. As well as you get some governing capacity. These are the ideas they get. Provincial trade power 20%. What? Also tolerance of heathens +3. So you start with +4 tolerance of heathens, meaning -4 unrest. So people are going to be very, very loyal in India if you choose to go for the East India Company. They also get trade power +15, unrest again -1 from the first idea, and governing capacity modifier +10%, trade goods size modifier. Okay, that's goods produced, right? Yes, that is goods produced +15. What? One extra merchant. Holy snaps, this is insane, dude. Manpower and sailors, steering +25%, and range increase, trade efficiency, as well as build cost reduction and trade company investment cost reduction. Wow, wow. Quite literally insanely powerful economic ideas, but this country is not good in a war, that's for sure. This is a perfect subject, just not a perfect military power. Now, that being said, it would be cool if they could add a special interaction to this country, since it is a special subject where you can just quite literally take money from them. Not similar to the treasure fleets. I'm saying interact, increase, let's say, the liberty desire by 5%, and then you get like a huge chunk of money from them. Just saying, because they're gonna make a lot of money, right? So it would be a pretty cool idea, just saying. So apparently it also has the ability to declare its own wars. It pays tariffs to its overlord and can use the modify subject relations on them, such as okay, I see. So it's basically pretty much like a new world colony. However, when an external nation attacks your trade company, you are cold in the war. There's also some additional subject interactions which are not available to normal colonies, like siphon income. Oh, snaps! Literally what I just said. Quite literally what I just said. You will be able to take money from them in exchange for some liberty desire, and you can fortify subject. Wow, that's like March level right there. Master of India, which requires you to have a subject or own 200 provinces in India, gives an additional bonus to your trade company subjects, and this is the bonus here you get until the end of the game. Diplo annexation cost and minimum autonomy territories. Your commercial enterprises and protectorates, that's also a new type of government or subject, better yet, gives 15% goods modifier, and the overlord now has minus 75% reduced trade penalty on non-main trade node, as well as 5% trade efficiency as long as this modifier is active. That's pretty cool. Now let's talk about the internal missions. The mission, the War of the Roses path, is where all the religious internal affairs are. Depending on what your stance is towards the clergy, you unlock one of the 2 government reforms for tier 4. Basically, you get the conciliarism of the churches or the Anglican state church. So essentially, whether you want to stay Catholic or you want to go Anglican, you have some government reforms to help you out with that, with their own unique bonuses here. The mission strengthen the kingdom and acts of parliament play heavily into the conflict between the monarch and the parliament, which leads up to the English Civil War. You know, the one with Oliver Cromwell and the king that got beheaded. Again, you get 2 separate government reforms that you can opt for as a result. Direct royal administration or parliamentary parliamentary administration. The parliament one gives the ability, whenever you grant parliament seats, to increase the loyalty of all estates by 1%, as well as parliament seats will decrease devastation monthly and autonomy, plus you get improved relations and favor growth. If you go for the king option, you get court creation cost reduction, absolutism, and administrative advisors grant 3% reform progress growth per level. That means you can get up to 15% reform progress growth, which is pretty strong in my opinion. I personally would probably go for the direct royal administration, but it's also kind of situational. You could definitely use the parliamentary administration in certain situations. So I guess it makes for a couple of different playthroughs. You can play the same nation a few times and have different paths and still have a lot of fun, right? That's what these things are at the end of the day. It's a way of making each playthrough a little bit more unique and more individual. When you enter the age of absolutism, you get the strife between king and parliament event that offers the parliamentary monarchy struggle tier 6 government reform, which is a bad thing, but it's the prerequisite for the English Civil War. Essentially, the monarchy and parliament are now in a struggle for power. Should either side take full power, that will begin the English Civil War. And you kind of want that because you want the English Civil War to get rid of this particular government reform and get the better government reforms that end up from either going Republican or staying as a monarchy. You have a little ticking thing here called the absolute power. When this reaches minus 100, the monarchists start a civil war. There are some negative modifiers here as well. Unrest, years of nationalism decrease, idea cost reduction, and yearly absolutism. So there's not all of them are bad. Some of these are good actually. The idea cost reduction, obviously. You also can let debates fail, which increase your absolute power, but this is going to escalate conflict. It's going to result in, you know, the English Civil War disaster is going to be easier to fire as consequence. And whenever it does trigger, which it will trigger eventually, obviously, you have to go through it. If you side with the royalists and end the civil war without breaking to rebels, you get the following reform: absolute British monarchy. You have the parliament, but you get plus 20 absolutism and yearly absolutism plus 0.5. Number of possible parliament issues minus 2, however. Now, if you go for the parliamentary win, basically you be big boy republicos, you become a parliamentary republic, no more king. 5 years duration for the PM or whoever leads the schnapps. You get plutocratic ideas, you still get the parliament, but you get morale of armies plus 10, can revoke seats in parliament, autonomy reduction, possible debate backing chance 25%, and possible number of issues plus 1. Or there's a third option as well. You can let the parliament win but still keep a monarchy, kind of like modern UK, right? Where the parliament actually has the power, but there's still a figurehead, right? You have a parliament, you get plus 1 diplomat, annexation relation impact minus 25%, debate chance increase plus 10%, and effect duration plus 5 as well, but you get minus 15 absolutism as consequence. Also, the Three Kingdoms War mission will give you permanent modifiers with legitimacy, estate loyalty, and number of possible parliament issues plus 1. So let's say you went for the first option where you got minus 2 possible parliament issues. This kind of fixes that a little bit, I guess, since you get plus 1, so you kind of get minus 1 issues, realistically speaking. See, I do be making the maths in this brain right here, okay? We got a glimpse at some of the new issues here, including Royal Impressment Act that offers morale of armies but lowers infantry combat ability. Alternatively, you can lower heavy ship combat ability and get land fire damage if you want to focus on your military rather than your navy. And you also get isolationism that gives production efficiency but lowers deploy relations. And of course, you get the option of toggling it off if you're tired of playing around with all of these issues. Whenever, you know, you're micromanaging an empire that spans pretty much the whole planet, you're probably not going to be in the mood to micromanage this little bit here as well. One of your earlier missions here, issued the Royal Warrant, gives a really unique government reform, the Royal Charters, which is unlocked at tier 8. Now we can see this over here. Basically, it lets you establish trade protectorates, which is again a special type of subject, as well as it offers corruption reduction, unrest reduction, and stability cost modifier. You can offer a lot of nations to become trade protectorates. In return, they offer you 50% of their trade power, but they gain minus 20% tech costs, institution spread, production efficiency, and so on. And you can call protectorates in your war in exchange for an opinion penalty. So they don't by default join your wars like regular subjects. You have to you lower your opinion with them if they do join your war, if you call them in the war, that is. Now, they also made the AI do something that the AI hasn't done for many years in EU4. The AI is gonna choose to become your subject, namely the trade protectorate. Nations, if they feel that they are threatened by somebody and they want somebody to protect them, they will offer themselves as your trade protectorate. You don't see AI offering themselves as subjects anymore in 1.34, but that's gonna be different in 1.35. There are some conditions to be enacted beforehand, of course, but it is a possibility. Trade protectorates are a voluntary relationship between you and the target country. Some AIs might even request to become such a subject in order to be protected. The trade protectorate and the overlord are free to annul the treaty, though they have to pay 1 stability unless the liberty desire is 100. So keep that in mind. Trade protectorates can choose to not be a trade protectorate anymore as long as they pay the stability cost. Only countries whose capitals are within your trade range are eligible to become protectorates as well. Also, not only Great Britain gets these trade protectorates, but countries that have the thalassocracy reform can also establish trade protectorates. Now, thalassocracy, oh my god, I cannot pronounce this. Thalassocracy. 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 No, there's no cracky at the end. God, Schnapple. Okay, let's take it one by one. Thalassocracy. Thalassocracy. Frack yeah. First attempt, guys. First attempt. Yeah, so anyway, these guys get trade power, naval force limit, trade company investment, and center trade upgrade cost. Pretty decent, pretty decent. The missions after a house divided are more internally related missions, such as the expand the Royal Navy that offers until the end of the game ability to construct man of war ships. Again, a unique ship. Remember that in the previous Dev Diary, we also talked about the other unique ships that the Spaniards had. Well, these bad boys have ship engagement with -1. Wow, that's pretty good. I don't know why this is with the red. It should be with the green, because that's a good thing, because this is a heavy ship, but it has engagement with -1, meaning that you can have more heavy ships fighting the enemy whatever ships, right? Meaning you're gonna win the battles most likely, because that's really powerful right there. Now, the Royal Marines makes your marine units to be the special land unit of your country, as it gives -10 shock damage received and +5 discipline. What? Whilst the Red Cloaks is a flat 10% infantry compatibility until the end of the game. That's fair enough, I'd say. Now, that's apparently it. That's the entirety of the British-English mission tree, but there's a big but, boys, because there's a second country inside of England that's about to be unleashed, okay? I'm talking about little England, all right? It's little in England. Talking about the ability to merge with the French and form an Angevin, basically a hybrid French-English nation. And that's why with the destiny of England, the missions that you start with get replaced with the Angevin missions, a completely new mission tree, and it allows you to form the Angevin Empire down the line. Let's check this bad boy out. You can see here a lot of changes. Seize Burgundy, very few New World missions by comparison with the other one. You get the Angevin Kingdom, Kingdom of Spain, whatever that might entail, dominate England, dominate Europe, expand the army, the Angevin culture, which will let you merge French and English into one culture group. Oh, snaps, did I just spoil that? I think I did. And a lot of other amazing missions here. So let's actually go through this. Remember that you can do this fairly early on in the campaign. If you don't want to go the classic English path, of course, you can always go down this particular path. All of the colonial missions have been replaced with missions that will lead you down a path of conquest and aim towards conquering the European continent more than anything else. Your primary target is going to be France and securing the personal union over it. In order to complete the mission, shatter French nobility, you have to enact a unique parliament action, which might cause pain in the short run, but ensure France's loyalty to the English throne. One more thing to note, once you get the mission Unify the Isles done, you will have the option of inheriting Scotland via your parliament and form Great Britain once you reach Admin Tech 10. So this is for the first path. For the Angevin path, however, there's something similar. The mission Angevin Kingdom unlocks the English-French Active Union Parliament issue, which allows you to form a new tag. Essentially, you inherit France and you form the Angevin Kingdom, which is a really good idea, actually. And if you go for the Angevin path, this is pretty much the meta now, to get the Union over France rather than slowly munching onto them, since you can integrate them with the click of a button. You don't have to waste many years to integrate them anymore. And it looks a little bit like this. You get the Angevin Kingdom. Basically, both England and France are one kingdom. Brand new map color, which is surprisingly similar to the Lotharingia color, actually. And this begs the question, if it's the Angevin Kingdom, but you would be an empire rank country, then why is it called the Angevin Kingdom? Is it the Empire of Angevin Kingdom? Maybe we should call it the Angevia. Oh, I don't know, something else. Now, the ideas once you form Angevin are a little bit military focused, of course. You get separatism -5 years, manpower plus 20%, improved relations, core creation cost -20%. That's huge for a Western European country, by the way. Discipline +5, air chance plus 50%, years to integrate personal union -10. So you can integrate personal unions in 40 years now. Infantry compatibility, also you get +10%, governing capacity +15, as well as legitimacy, or the equivalent for the last idea. Now, once you do form the Angevin Kingdom, you will be led down the path of conquering everybody else around, including the Spanish, including the Italians. And you can see here, you can also push into the lowlands for that matter, as they mentioned here. You can see here you have new acts of the Iberian Crown, Italian Crown, Imperial Crown even, which trigger events that allow us to create the Kingdom of Italy, the Kingdom of Spain, under a personal union. The Iberian Crown over here, you can see you have the option of rule it as a personal union or keep it under direct ownership. If you make a personal union out of it, you get until the end of the game +1 diplomatic relations, unjustified demands -10%, and prestige. And the same goes for the Italians. If you choose to release them as a personal union, you get the exact same bonuses. Establish the Imperial Diet, gives imperial authority growth +10%. I'm guessing you do have to become the emperor in that case though, so you're gonna have to join the HRE somehow. And then, as I mentioned before, the Angevin culture is the moment where you change from English to Anglois, and you're a part of the greater French sphere of cultures, essentially. Claim empire title is gonna basically give... Oh, it changes the name to Angevin Empire. Right, okay. So, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So, from Angevin Kingdom to Angevin Empire, or Angevin Republic if we go in Republican, or Angevin Holy See Holy State if we go theocratic, or Angevin Duchy if we become a duchy instead of a king. Oh, I see. Right, okay, that makes sense. You can also fail at your game and become a duchy. That's possible, right? Good to see that they foresaw this. Now, there have been some changes to the parliament itself. You probably noticed a lot of new diets, but there's more than that. The parliaments now have the ability to reset a debate. All you gotta do is click the big reset button right over here. It's gonna give some unrest and corruption, but resetting a debate sometimes can be the right option if you're not into that debate anymore, or it's just not relevant anymore. You can only reset it every 20 years though, so use that wisely. Parliament bribes no longer spawn for an issue which would give this resource as an effect. As an example, the draft, which gives manpower scale to the seats, will never have any parliament bribe which requires you to pay with the manpower. So yeah, like if your parliament debate is get money, you're not gonna have to give money to get the debate, which didn't make sense in the first place. So good to see that they did this quality of life change. Parliament size of 40 seats unlocks new bribes which have national in their name. They're more expensive, more extensive, whatever. There you go. You can see here national diplomatic support, where it costs 20 diplomatic power, but quite a few of your seats will support the debate. Wow, that's a good issue. That's a really good improvement. That means there's more quality of life improvements around the parliament, and even more debates like the expand bureaucracy, scale with the influence of nobility, scale with the influence of burghers. Very interesting. Scaling, you can see here, it's based on the percentages, as are the bribes. Apparently they scale with the loyalty of the estate. The more loyal the estate, the lower the bribe. The less loyal, the higher the bribe. You also get a university in London now, and until the end of the game, innovativeness yearly plus 0.25 and institution growth. And the Angevin age gives until the end of the game core creation cost -5, separatism -5, and max promoted cultures. This is good because you also get in your national ideas core creation cost, so you get up to -25 core creation cost reduction. You also have the chance of getting Mr. Henry the 8th Lancaster. Elizabeth also is available 665, and you get the religious chaos until the age of reformation. Wow, these are just some of the new events added in. Basically, there's quite a few events added in the game. The order of chivalry here gives you monthly splendor, nobility equilibrium, Anglicanism in the Holy Roman Empire. Anglican becomes the dominant faith of the Holy Roman Empire. Apparently that can be a thing now. And Pax Britannica, which is one of the final missions here, gives prestige decay -1%, legitimacy, parliament debate chance backing +25, liberty desire on other continents from... Okay, that's great for your colonial subjects. They're going to be less disloyal. They also mentioned next week we're going to get content for minor great powers, unique governments, additional estate privileges. Like I mentioned before, this is reeking of Persia, Mamelukes, Portugal, Navarra, maybe Brandenburg, and who knows what else. I'm really excited for next week's Dev Diary. I think you guys are really going to enjoy that one. And if you did enjoy this one, don't forget to subscribe so we can restore that Roman Empire in real life. That's what this is all about, really. And until the next time, check out this awesome Austria run. And I want to give a massive thank you to all of my patrons, channel members, and Twitch subscribers. I would not be able to do this without all your support.